All right, we're out in the shop again today. I've got a in-cab heater I want to get installed in my new side-by-side. We got this back in, excuse me, I think it was September. Got just about, I don't know, 400 miles on it now. Absolutely love the machine. It's getting colder out now. Well, today's Christmas Day. Chelsea's at work, and I got nothing else to do, so I'm going to put this heater in. But it's getting colder out finally. We've had beautiful weather this fall and going into winter. We've had 50 degrees. We were out hiking last weekend because it was 50 degrees, but it is finally, winter's actually here finally. So time to get this heater installed in this thing. That way we can continue to ride it throughout the winter because I'm really enjoying this one. But this is what I got. So it's an inferno cab heater, kind of a universal one. However, it does come with specific instructions for CF Moto. So we are going to briefly go through those and probably just figure out most of it on our own. But what do we all got here? Got our blower motor. Looks like it came with about 8 to 10 feet of ductwork. It's like dryer vent type material. It comes with 4 of these vents that are, I need 3 hands here. You can turn them, trust me. Anyways, they rotate in a circle after they're mounted in the dash. Looks like it's pretty simple tees. We'll just tee into the heater hoses coming off of the radiator. Fairly simple wire harness. I did kind of breeze through the instructions a little bit already. Looks like it just taps into the 12-volt cigarette, or the not the cigarette lighter. Nothing has a cigarette lighter anymore. 12-volt plug for charging your phones and whatnot. Also came with some 5/8 heater hose. This will go from the heater core up to the radiator hoses that we're going to tee into with these fittings here. So hose clamps, comes with everything. Kind of a nice kit. Should be pretty simple, but I'll get started on this thing. For one of the first steps it says to do is to remove the hood. I got to get my camera set up, and then I'll show you removing the hood on these CF Motos. All right, so with these UFORCE hoods, it opens just like a car hood. Pop it in the front. There's a rubber clip behind there, and then kind of go back and up like that, and then it comes right out of there. We're supposed to locate the winch wire harness and disconnect it up here. So give me a second, I'll find that and I'll show you where it's at. All right, so step 1 in the instructions said to remove the hood so we can access the winch controller wire harness, and step 1 is already wrong. So the only thing we're really going to need in here for is at the end, we're going to top off coolant. So I've worked ahead a little bit just so I get better oriented, but the winch controller, or the winch controller that's in the cab plugs in under the dash. The cable runs, I am right under the brake master cylinder right now, or the brake fluid reservoir on the left front shock. So this connector right here is zip tied up right at the top of the shock there pretty much. And then the harness comes this way through the wheel well and actually goes up and into the cab right here. So like I said, I jumped ahead a little bit. I've actually already removed the lower dash because it's going to be easier to show you guys where all the fasteners are for that now that it's actually removed. But that harness for the winch controller, so if you're familiar with these, right inside the driver's side door, your winch controller plugs in right here under the dash. The harness for it actually goes through this panel right here, out through that wheel well, and up to the top of that left front shock. 2 zip ties holding it onto the frame rail right in here, and that was all I had to cut for zip ties. Now onto the lower dash. There is, what do we got here? 4 Phillips screws on this side and 3 on that side, and then I believe it was 6 total bolts to remove with a 10mm head. So I'll show you real quick on the lower dash. So all of those Phillips screws, this sits in the machine like this. Okay, so this is your top side. This would be your glove box. This would be below the steering column. The Phillips screws are all of these holes right here going straight up under the dash. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. And then the bolts with a 10mm head just above your winch controller plug-in. You've got one there. To the right of the steering column, one there. And let me back up. There is one down here below the winch controller. Same on the other end of the dash. Underneath the glove box, there's one down there, and then inside the glove box there was 2. So, sorry. This is the compartment under the glove box, just a little cubby under the glove box. So, reason that has to be removed is for access to where the ductwork is going to go. So one of our vents will go in this little knockout right here. It's not a knockout. We got to drill a 2 and I believe it said 2.5 inch hole. I'll double check that. And then again over there, right where the brightest part of the light is, 2.5 inch hole there. So the ductwork will be ran up through the dash from the heater box. Another thing you can do is remove, you may not need to do this, I did it so that I don't have to lay on my back to run the ductwork underneath, but your dash or your gauge cluster right here, there is 2 rubber grommets. Levi, come here. Why don't you hold the camera for me? Okay. On the bottom of the gauge cluster you have 2 rubber grommets. These 2 right here. The lights are bright. Let me use my finger. These. It's just these little plastic tits coming off of here that push into those, and on the top, there's just a couple little plastic pieces right here on the top side that push straight down in. So this just snaps out. Pop the bottom first, and then the back side of it, you can pop it straight up, and you can pull the whole thing out. And then that gives you access to reach in here and be able to screw that ductwork together when we get to that point. So I'm kind of walking you guys through this all up front, and then I'm going to put you on time lapse while I install all this stuff, and then I'll show it all to you installed. So let me see the camera good. Under here, now that the dash is removed, you can see got the framework of the side-by-side. Man, this is hard to do in here. This is why I'm going to put you on time-lapse, because this is going to be really hard to install everything and fit the camera in here and everything all at the same time. So anyways, there's a frame rail under here that the heater box is going to hang off of. So I'm just going to get all this stuff put in, and I will show you guys what it looks like all installed, and I'll kind of talk you through it again at the end.
Wanna put on that dress that all the bad boys like. I know your daddy ain't home, so ride with me tonight. You always wind up here.
All right, we got the blower motor installed in there. I'm going to show you real quick with the wiring out here on the bench what I'm going to do. So they kind of overcomplicated this. They sent it pre-wired with a couple different options of connectors that you can push the pins into depending on which style of connector your side-by-side has. I'm not going to do that because that's just making 2 more connection points in there. So I'm going to simplify this. And so all we need is power and ground. That is garbage. These 2 wires right here, we got our red for our power, black for our ground. This connector goes up to the rocker switch that'll be installed in the dash, And this white connector right here will be plugged into the blower motor. It's very simple, just need power and ground to it, that's it. Instead of dealing with figuring out which connector the factory 12-volt plug uses, that's the whole purpose of this. You disconnect it and see which one of these works with that factory plug. It's just adding another connection there. I don't really see the point in that. So I'm just going to use butt connectors, cut the wires to the 12-volt plug under the dash, and butt connect it together. All right, hopefully you can see what I'm doing under here. I'm trying to keep my hands out of the light. Maybe I'll just move the light to the other side. So here's our 12-volt plug right here, coming off the back side of there. I just pulled the shielding back, this black shielding, and I exposed the wires, cut them. I do need to figure out which wire is my hot wire and which one's my ground. So turn your key on, just take a simple test light. You've got a perfectly good ground right here on this new heater box. We're just going to see which wire is hot. Right there, the white one. So green's our ground, white is our hot wire. So our white is going to go, I already put my butt connectors on the harness for the heater box. So the white's going to go into our red, and the greens, sorry, both whites, I have to tie both whites together and both greens together. So both greens will go in with the black, both whites will go in with the red, crimp them down. And these are, I do use heat shrink butt connectors on everything. That way it's a watertight connection. Don't have to worry about water getting in there and corrosion and all that. So put you back on time lapse. I'll get all this put together and get the heater core or the heater box plugged in.
In a puddle of tears, them boys are out and they're angry and they're looking for blood in the back of a blue old pickup truck. You've got nowhere to go, although you're all gussied up. There's so much whiskey in his coke, it'll make her nose spin, but she swears it.
Okay, we're gonna put this rocker switch in now. These factory knockouts, if you just reach behind, you should be able to just push them out. Come on. There we go. And make sure you get that oriented correctly. Oh, before I put that in there, which way does the plug go? Okay. I'm gonna have to do this kind of blind. So I'm just kind of looking at the plug ahead of time so I see which way it goes on there. Go ahead and pop this rocker switch in. Okay, and reach up behind there. Oh no. Okay, we gotta cut that zip tie. I did it too tight. Have to redo that. Hopefully I can do this without bending a pin, because I don't think I can get my head under there. I'm gonna have to try it. Okay, that's plugged in. And then we'll turn the key on and see if this thing works. We got low. There we go. Switch lights up. High. Yeah. Cool. Feels like they put off a good amount of air too. Alright, we'll get started on the ductwork. The last thing I'm going to do is run those heater hoses and then cut the radiator, the upper and lower radiator hoses. That'll be last.
Love is a damn godsend. She ain't known God since she was a child. She used to play in the yard and she would dream of one day till.
Alright, so I screwed up on the other side. I put the wrong louver in on that side. Initially on the other side I put this one with the longer stem on it, or spout, whatever you want to call it. These are actually for the floor heat, and these shorter ones with this real short collar or threaded nut are for the defrost side. This threaded side, you got to feed the duct through it, which is kind of a pain. think the directions said at least a ½ an inch, so we're plenty far in there. And then how this works, you thread this in together and it just smashes it in there and locks it in. So now I gotta feed this part up through the dash. This side's a little harder than the driver's side because there's not as much room on this side. A lot of it is reaching up behind the glove box, and I'm not gonna remove that.
Took her dreaming away, told her how to dress and act and smile. She's an Oklahoma smoke show, he's an asshole from back home.
There we go. Well, this one's gonna be really hard to get tight. I got nothing I could grab onto. Well, that's about as tight as I can get it. Go ahead and stretch that out and cut it to length so I can hook it up to the blower motor.
She'll never make it out alive. That small town bar scene where small vices kill your big dreams. He'd take you home but he's too drunk to drive.
Alright, working on this lower dash now. I need to get holes drilled in it for my louvers. There's not a lot of room here. We're gonna have one in this corner, one in this corner. Here's how it sits. This is that lower compartment below the center of the dash. And once this lower little cubby is installed, there's not a lot of room here. So you need to put them. Wow, that's gonna be tight. They should fit. I think it's just gonna kind of crease the ductwork just a little bit as it comes by this corner. I think I need to be pretty much as far as possible this way. Let's see how this works. Take my knife, there's these little ribs to kind of stiffen the plastic on the back side. I need to shave that one down right there. Probably have to do it on the other side too. Should go. Alright, do the same thing on the other side.
Life with you and I, one you'll never know, 'cause you're a small town smoke show. Well, I've been here, I've been up all night, thinking about a life with you and I, one you'll never know, 'cause you're a small town smoke.
Alright, we'll set this back in there. Get the ductwork hooked up to these first, and then put the bottom dash back in. No, we can't put this in yet. We got to do the heater hoses. All right, once again, hopefully you can see this. Up on the firewall here, they actually provide you with a couple of little circled, there's dipples right here that are the right size for the heater hoses to go through, which I believe, I have to go look at the instructions again. I think it's 1 3/8. Let me go check. All right, yes, it's 1 3/8. So, all right, well, somewhere right in there. Hope that's right. One. Yeah, I think CF Moto expects you to do this without grommets. The instructions, or the kit sends you grommets with these, which I like, but I don't think I can use that other factory hole. Gotta look at the other side of the firewall. No, I'm gonna have to go next to that. I gotta go straight left of that, and then I'll show you in the wheel well here shortly where these are coming out at. Hose through there. I think they give you like 8 feet of hose as well. I haven't cut it yet, it's still all one piece. So I'm just gonna go about halfway. That's plenty on this side. I'll show you guys on the other side. So that comes out of the firewall right there. Here's our lower radiator hose, and this back one right there is the upper. Now I gotta find my clamps, pinch those off, cut them, install the Ys, and tie these in. All right, we're all hooked up to the heater core in here with our heater hoses. Uh-oh, battery dying? No, I think my flashlight's dying. Anyways, we're tied into the heater core there. Goes through our rubber grommets in the firewall. Got a lower radiator hose. I put the shutoff valve on the lower radiator hose, so in the summertime when we don't want heat, we can isolate the hot coolant from going through the cab, to keep it from going through the cab. So your lower radiator hose is always your supply line. So that's why I put the shutoff valve on the lower instead of the upper, because if I put it on the upper, I would still be getting some of that hot coolant working its way. It would gradually heat up the coolant in the heater core, and it'd just still be hotter in the summertime. The other Y, it's hard to see. This is why I didn't film any of this, because there's no freaking room in here. So, but the other Y is right there. It's wrapped around the frame, doubles back, and goes through the firewall. I still have to put some zip ties on that and just get it secured. But all that's left now, yep, this flashlight's done. I gotta get the lower dash installed and get our ductwork hooked up to the lower louvers for the floor heat. And we'll be done with this thing. Go try it out.
Wanna put on that dress that all the bad boys like. I know your daddy ain't home, so ride with me tonight. You always wind up here in a puddle of tears. And boys are out and they're angry and they're looking for blood in the back.
All right, the interior is all back together. I'm just letting it run right now, let it warm up, get all the air out of the coolant system. Got everything topped off. I put in just a little bit extra because I know it's going to suck that down. Radiator's full. I'm probably, real quick, I'll show you what the temperature is coming out of the vents before this thing heats up, and then I'll show you after everything's warmed up and coolant's topped off again. Assuming we got to put some more in it. Maybe we won't. All right. Let's go to high. And as of right now, we're at 77. And I'm going to let this thing run for 10 or 15 minutes, and I'll check back in with you. All right, it's the next day. Got that all finished up last night. Let it run for a half hour. We drove it around a little bit, kind of tested it. It's nice and warm last night. I did run it to town this morning and wash everything off, which I should have done before I started this whole project. It would have made it a lot easier, but now I can show you out here in the daylight. Maybe you can see a little better how this is set up in here. We got our shut-off valve here. This is our Y coming off of our supply line. And then back behind there, I don't know if you can see it, where my finger's at, is the Y coming off of the return line. So, I got it all checked out for leaks this morning after I got it washed up. Nothing's leaking, so. I'm gonna grab my laser thermometer. I'll show you how warm it is in there now. Be right back. All right, it's nice and warm in here. It's about 25 degrees out today. So let's try this again. And that's quite a ways away from the heater core. Typically when you're checking like AC or heat temps, you check in the center of your dash where it's going to be the hottest or the coldest. Maybe I can get a reading off of one of these bottom vents. Yeah, 118. So yeah, it's nice and toasty in here. I've got to do a little bit of sealing up here. I think I'm going to pull the roof off and put some weather stripping between this front lip of the roof. Because you'll get a lot of airflow coming in through these square or these rectangle holes and these big holes right here for whatever kind of accessory is supposed to fit up there. I don't know, but there's a lot of airflow coming in, so need to do something about that. Shut that off so you can hear me better. But overall, I like the way it works. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and thanks for watching.
Blue old pickup truck, you've got nowhere to go, although you're all gussied up.